Red Queen.
In fact, the biography was called Red Queen. It sort of starts to tell you the story of how Angela Rayner is perceived.
White porn.
And he had sent pictures. He thought that the individual had compromising information on him, and he...
These are the interesting times. Hello everyone, my name's Matt Johnston and welcome to The Interesting Times, a political comedy show from right here in the UK. So, after Sunday's show in which we highlighted the fact that William Wragg got caught in a honey trap sect sting into sending nude photos of his, I'm guessing, erect penis from someone asking to see pictures of his erect penis, these people are so devious.
And they'd exchanged pictures. Well, he thought he'd exchanged pictures involving rather compromising pictures, we understand, of his naked member. Shall we go with member?
Oh yes, let's have some fun with this. So member, very good, and delightful pun work too. Also, Dick, Johnson, Willie, of course, and cock. Apparently a video also exists of him being urinated on by 3 other men. Nice to know there are at least some people out there that can still afford to spend a penny. But for some reason, the national security of the nation, so important when we're talking about refugees fleeing persecution, seemed on this occasion to not only take a back seat, but threw a blanket over itself and hid in the boot, as people realised there was a story that femaled in comparison.
These headlines proclaiming 2 homes Rayner simply aren't going away.
Yes, woman sells house 9 years ago is still taking up all the headlines. This is Angela Rayner, the same woman who, a couple of years ago, would cross her legs. Hard to believe these people may be in power by the end of the year. When she was a home carer in 2015, Angela sold a house and it was believed, including to be fair by me, that she owed a little bit of money on the capital gains tax. And I said, just pay it for goodness sake. Otherwise the Tories are just going to keep on repeating the accusations like it's a letter left by the last Labour Chancellor. Now, to be fair, I was wrong on Angela owing any capital gains tax, as she said that Vicarage Road was her principal property at the time, although her husband didn't live there. Case closed. Not according to the Daily Heterosexual White Male, and in particular the journalist, Admiral Dan Hodges, who's got the sneaky and secretive Angela Rayner on his radar. The hunt for Red giveover. And honestly, if Angela lived anywhere, it's rent-free in Dan's head, as he tweeted various bits of ridiculousness to show he's probably the stupidest man on Twitter. And Donald Trump's on Twitter. Dan Needle, a tax lawyer of 25 years and man desperate to raise the average IQ for Dans on Twitter, tried to explain on numerous occasions why the other Dan was wrong. But trying to explain anything to Dan Hodges is as hopeless as explaining quantum mechanics to a cat, or explaining a cat to Jonathan Gullis. But honestly, could there be something more going on here?
Mike, how much do you think misogyny and classism plays into this story?
Oh, I think incredibly.
Misogynistic and working class? Let's see. What do posh men think?
My point was, it's not about the amount, it's about the principle. Did you break the law?
If it's on the front page of the Mail on Sunday and the Sun and everything else, it is a story.
What you've seen here, I think, is a timely warning to all those millions of people who feel tempted to dump the Tories.
By Angela Rayner's own standards, she has to go.
For such a vocal political figure, Angela Rayner, the self-named Ginger Growler, has fallen strangely quiet.
If the police had done a thorough job in the first place, then there wouldn't have been that letter and there wouldn't have been that pressure.
In fact, have a look at this on Talk TV as they discuss this very subject.
I mean, I think this is all about her being a working class woman.
Seriously?
Yes, of course.
That right there is the look of a woman with an internal monologue saying, here we go again.
As the only woman here, I do think.
Whatever background you come from.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. But when we compare the spotlight that's been shown on Angela Rayner, considering how much money she would potentially owe as a result...
It's nothing to do with the amount of money, it's the principle.
For those that don't know her, she is Nicola Thorpe, born in Blackpool, a northern working class town, and crucially, a woman, being talked over by 2 men, James Hansen, Times presenter, and David Bull, her co-presenter, who knows a fair bit about struggle, as he was born in the urban live fast and die young ghetto that is Farnborough. Then the deputy political editor of the Daily Mail, Harriet Lane, Line went on to LBC to publicly pursue this popular politician over their past property portfolio. Yes, I may use the piece, but the Daily Mail really takes it.
Is it all a smear?
No, I think there are some really quite legitimate questions that Angela Rayner needs to answer. The central charge is one of alleged hypocrisy.
First of all, if you work for the Daily Mail and you use the word hypocrisy, probably a good idea to cross yourself, just to be on the safe side. But also, is tax a hypocrisy hill you want to die on? Because the owner of the Daily Mail, Lord Rothermere, resides in France as a tax exile, a status inherited from his dad, on an estate worth approximately £760 million. You could probably buy a semi-detached in Stockport for that. Then there's this.
Questions about her tax affairs in regard to that, which is a really murky area. And she hasn't really explained exactly why, in her view, she didn't break any rules. And so until I think she comes up and says exactly why, then these questions are going to be kept being asked.
Ah, yes, guilty until proven innocent. Justice by journalism and all that. But one thing she is right about is tax is complicated. I mean, not if you don't pay any, of course. Maybe Angela Rayner could just take them to court so that no copy of the Daily Mail is allowed to be within 500 metres of her. Now, on my show a little over a week ago, I spoke about how Angela Rayner had made a mistake on her tax, was attempting to cover it up rather than own up to it. As I say, I was wrong, and I apologise, Angela. I'm sorry. But you can kind of see where things look a little bit dubious.
Said she's very happy to answer any further questions from the police or from any of the authorities. I don't need to see the legal advice. My team has seen it.
Your team? Arsenal? And then Rachel Reeves and Louise Haigh.
All this is from a decade ago, the living arrangements with her and her ex-husband before she was a Member of Parliament.
The details of this rely on revealing very detailed information about Angela's family circumstances.
And honestly, I've been running around on this in circles. Why has Angela been so coy about this? Could she have something to hide, or...
Tax affairs are personal.
Yeah, actually. The reason's pretty simple. The fixation the Daily Mail have about Angela Rayner has become weird. As in proper weird, obsessive, stalking weird. I mean, not only the crossing the leg story, which came from the Daily Mail's political editor, Glenn Owen, who got it from 4 anonymous Tory MPs, who the Mail aren't going to name. So, protecting privacy is absolutely fine when you're slandering a working class woman. But not when you don't want to release a nearly decade-old financial transaction. And then there's this from Amanda Platel. It's just plain creepy. She may well have or hadn't had sex. Honestly, I couldn't care less. How come we aren't talking about any of the men in Parliament like that?
You can't say about Angela Rayner that she doesn't have authentic lived working class experience. They can't dismiss her as a metropolitan liberal lefty, right?
Exactly. The real reason the Tories don't like Angela Rayner is because unlike frog-faced fartage and streak of jizz in a top hat, she really is working class. They can't throw the metropolitan elite tag her way. In fact, it's the mainstream media and Westminster bubble that are trying to take her down. Even with the tax issue, this was the Daily Express headline on Wednesday. Angela Rayner forced to flee after tax protests, which all sounds rather grandiose until you see that the protest was 2 blokes holding up a banner saying Angela Rayner tax dodger ? So where did they get these 2 blokes from? Let's ask the local Conservative MP. I think you can see where this is going. Matt Vickers.
Were these people, I think you could see it on some of these screens there, were these your staff?
Were these my staff? No.
Categorically not.
I've been down here with you all day today.
Yes, we know it's not you. You're in the TV studio. Plus, they don't look the same as you. So yes, it's not you. But do they work for you?
Were you behind this, though? Did you encourage it? I mean,
I've been down here speaking to wonderful people like you.
You sure? Really? Because that bloke on the right doesn't half look like local Conservative councillor John Coulson. And that's because it was him. But he didn't organise it. Someone else in the party did. Interesting. How did they know Angela was going to be there on that particular day? Well, you may or may not know that a courtesy that exists between politicians is that if another MP is entering your constituency, you give the MP notice that you're doing that. The MP in question? Matt Vickers, seen here with John Coulson saying, "You doing anything this weekend, John?" But besides the misogyny and classism, crucially, this has only shown us two things, which we sort of knew anyway. One, some people will always have a go at the Labour Party because, well, they just will and don't need any reason. Thank you very much. And the second thing is just how bad Labour are at corruption. I mean, a story dating back 9 years on a maximum of £3,000 tax owed, which isn't even owned, probably. Honestly, £3,000? I've dodged more tax than that. I mean, haven't dodged more tax than that. Or any tax. Always paid what I owed to the penny. Anyway, Labour in power is almost certainly going to be the end of this show. With the Tories, generally there is not enough hours in the day. Honestly, I always get comments about why didn't you cover this scandal or that fuck up? But covering all the Tories' corruption would be less of a weekly catch-up and more 24-hour live stream. And we know what the streams have been like for the last 14 years. And the latest on this is that following the intervention of Conservative MP James Daly, Greater Manchester Police have said that actually looking at a nearly decade-old crime that wasn't a crime is an effective use of their time. And Angela Rayner has said, if I'm found guilty of a crime, I'll resign. Bit of a rap for you. So does this mean that they are going to look into all crime dating back 9 years? And any MPs found guilty of them will resign the whip? Oops. Be careful what you wish for, Tories. Speaking of which, let's move on to their latest offering. The case of one William Peter Ragg, who was contacted on Grindr, which, for those that don't know, it's a gay dating app, from someone asking for a dick pic. And as I think I've mentioned a few times, in fact, probably denying it too much now, but anyway, I've never sent a pic of my penis in any state of arousal. Sorry if you're having your lunch.
Basic bad manners, to say the least. It's bad behaviour.
No, it's bad manners to fart at the dinner table, or not say thank you if someone holds the door open for you. Giving out personal details to a scammer on Grindr and not saying anything about it for months on end is stupid, reckless, and compromises the security of the country. And then when he did own up, he not only got praised for it, he decided himself that he will leave the two heavily influential parliamentary committees he's on and resign the party whip. Is anyone else expecting Rishi Sunak to make him the number 10 official photographer? Reform are, of course, having their own issues with candidates.
You yourself as a party got a crisis in the number of candidates, parliamentary candidates, that you have to drop when they're investigated.
No, actually, we've got many more candidates than many other parties. And I'm not taking lessons from the Tory party that's got a bunch of sexual weirdos.
Yes, Reform doesn't take any sexual weirdos, just xenophobic ones. In fact, some of them are dead racist.
And so we're very clear to all our candidates. For heaven's sake, if you're going to have a glass on a Friday night, then don't use social media.
Exactly. If you are going to be racist, have the good sense not to let other people know your thoughts until after you're elected. Reform's Richard Tice there in front of a backdrop that I'm guessing is compensating for something, and behind a podium that says his party is ready to save Britain. And with his hand movements, he certainly looks ready too. Maybe get some tips from Peter Shilton first. But vetting candidates isn't Reform's only problem. Sometimes they struggle to remember them as well. As Lee Anderson went on one of his leaflet drops and proudly showed his campaigning leaflet with somebody else's name on it. Lee Anderson. It's not the most embarrassing spelling mistake ever. Could have been Lee in the bin. Lee is quite dim. Or please don't answer the door, it's him. And speaking of saving things, we've only got 10 years to save the West. Apparently. Wait, was that 10 years from when the book was published or 10 years from when it'll be pulped? I don't think it'll make a lot of difference, honestly. Liz Truss is still, I think, holding the same books hostage.
My book, 10 Years to Save the West, is being released a week from now on the 16th of April. If you want to join the fight back against wokeism and socialism, you can go to my website and order the book now.
Or alternatively, make friends with your local refuge collector and wait until the 17th of April. And speaking of socially awkward prime ministers, Rishi Sunak went on to LBC to show the infamous charm he has with the British public.
The next call, Louise, is in the Rhondda Valley and you're through to the Prime Minister. Go ahead, Louise. Morning to you.
Good morning, Nick. Good morning, Prime Minister.
Hi, Rhondda.
Help me, Rhondda, yeah, get him out of number 10. Not all of the Tories were struggling though. Jonathan Gullis not only learned 3 new skills, he's actually been able to put them all together. So, presenting for the first time, Jonathan Gullis walking, talking and filming.
Hey up here, Jonathan Gullis, Deputy Chairman of the Conservative Party, out and about in Belper, in the East Midlands, for our fantastic East Midlands Mayoral.
But while Jonathan was showing off his new skills, Jacob Rees-Mogg was honing old ones.
Now, Aberdeen. Yes, you heard correctly, Aberdeen. The rebranded name given to financial institution Standard Life Aberdeen. The removal of the words vowels, undoubtedly a rather rum decision, has now been defended by the firm, which has accused the amused of corporate bullying.
Talking crap. That, though, whatever that was, wasn't the stupidest thing that the Victorian Gimp said last week.
The government is ignoring the benefits of Brexit with its new border checks regime. The whole point of Brexit, as I said many times during the 2016 campaign, was to free ourselves from the protectionist racket that is the European Union.
Just one problem, Jacob. These checks are actually a legal requirement of the Brexit deal you voted for. And although, thankfully, we get 60% of our food from our own farmers, we're the red bit there, Jacob. About 30% of it comes from the EU. The blue bits you see. Yeah, it's quite a bit. Honestly, what a stupid... Thank you all so much for watching, and if you have enjoyed this video, then please like, subscribe, share and comment, and I'll see you all next Sunday. Take care.